Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of my Dungeon Boss walkthrough series. Today we are taking our first look at the Hellish Maw, which is a legendary dungeon on Boss Island. So you can see from where I'm at, I have not 3-starred it yet. In fact, I've not beaten it at all because I haven't actually looked at it yet. So we're actually going to take a first look at it, and then after that, we will develop a strategy for beating it so that you can try and get some of these superior runes. So, at first glance, we're staring down some fire heroes as well as some dark heroes. More importantly, though, we want to look to see what we're dealing with. Demons. Makes you think that Augustus is going to be a good answer. Caster demon, not overly concerned there. So the only thing that we need to watch out for is this guy here because he is fast. So if none of the actual enemies are fast, that actually opens up more options for us in terms of team compositions because we don't have to worry about having a really strong fast hero to start with. So in order to kind of get a benchmark or an idea of how tough this dungeon's going to be, I'll start out with just my undead team, which is usually how I start all of the boss mode dungeons. It gives me a good idea of what some of the level mechanics are, and they don't die as easy, so I can get through a bunch of the stages without losing too much and get a better sense of what's going on here. Because really, we want to see what sort of immunities they have and what sort of different buffs or passives they have, because that's going to ultimately determine the team we pick. So for example, if they all have the wushu trait like boss mode King Kong where you can't do any criticals, we obviously would need to take that into consideration. So the rewards here, some yellow and some dark materials, the little jewels, the etched bars, and of course the thing that everybody wants is the runes. Alright, so my undead team is lacking a little bit these days. I swapped a bunch of runes around to try and buff Shade and Koros for PvP, and so I ended up switching off some of my better runes, some of my dark runes. If you've seen my Shade before, he's got pretty much all of my best purple runes. So I ended up stripping some of those off of Brom and Zom and ended up replacing them with other stuff. So my undead team is still pretty good. It's still 28,000, but it's not anywhere close to the 30,000 that I used to have. I'm going to take 1 revive potion and 2 energy potions, and that's just in the event that I die, unfortunately, without a team wipe. And then the energy potion's really just for a heal here or there with Brom. So because I don't know what the mechanics of the level are, I'll probably be a little bit more liberal with my skills to start with. So we're going to be using Hansuke's Vigilance. That way if somebody hits really hard, he can stop some of those death blows and hopefully keep the team going a little bit longer. So I would imagine that the undead team can probably handle the normal stage fairly well, unless these guys have a higher attack towards dark or something like that. So with any dungeon, you do want to look things over and see what we're dealing with here. So high chance to dodge. Burn melee attackers, that's going to be a tough one, because if it's like a boss burn, it's probably not boss burn, but it's probably still important. High resistance to poison, burn, shock, and disease. I'm not really concerned about that. So basically some flame stuff here. This guy's got a little bit more. Boosted damage versus casters, not a problem with this team. 2 times versus nature, so the big one here with Hansuke, so it might be better to ultimately swap him out with Overlord. Time will tell there, though. We'll see how hard he actually hits. Chance to disease, that's not a problem with this team. Disease melee attackers. But yeah, this demon stuff here. Alright, so let's go ahead and give it a whirl here. We're going to just do some basic attacks. Looks like if Yorick can do pretty well there, I imagine this is going to be pretty good. The nice thing that I saw is nobody was immune to darkness just yet. That's kind of good for us, because then I can whip out my Doomblade. So a little bit of an attack there. Alright, let's see how they handle the old Doomblade. So Brom's obviously not at his best, but enough for Zom to clean up the stuff here. We're going to be dealing with evasion. Apparently, that's going to be the big thing here, is that evasion as their health decreases. That's ultimately going to open up the possibility of maybe bringing in a Valken team with the perfect swing. Something to consider. Plus, he's got mine has a pretty high attack, and he's got good energy use. So if we used an energy team on here, Valken could be quite the asset. First room, not really much of an issue. I would imagine we're going to see the same types of enemies for the first 3 rooms. Yeah, I'm not overly concerned. We'll throw auto attack on here, see how it goes. See if they do anything overly dangerous. If they kill somebody, I'll revive. But it seems like the stage itself is not overly complex. At least if we can brute force it with the undead team, that's a good start. So we'll do this and then see what happens with the mini boss. Have not gotten a epic with Yorick yet. He could really... It'd be really nice if he did that so he could heal Hansuke. So if he doesn't do it on this next turn here, I'll probably just do a quick attack with... Yeah, I'm just going to heal with the... I'll heal with Brom. Just because I don't want to die, basically. Alright, so just top off our health a little bit, and then we'll auto it back here. So because of the repeated burn, some people might suggest that Yasmin might be a good one to bring along. Depends on how well she can stack up to this damage here. The undead team is notoriously tough as far as soaking damage, which is part of the reason that I bring them along to pretty much all of my first tries here, because you know, it just works better that way. We have disease on Zom, which is amazing because he's going to do some serious damage here. Immune to darkness, we got to watch that. Other than that, it's no different than really anything else. Increased defense, so they're just going to be a little bit tougher. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much standard for bosses. So we'll look at this guy here. He's slow. No damage from nature, don't care about that. No damage from darkness, don't care about that. Boosted damage versus disease, that's the one that I'm concerned with. So the real question is, who should we kill first? She doesn't have boosted damage versus disease, so he's slow. I'm going to kill him before he gets an attack. So we mark him. And basic attack here. We'll see. What do we want to do? Spirit attack, or do we want to do... You know what? Let's do this one here first, from the grave. I don't know how strong he is, so I don't want to waste my spirit attack. Yeah, he's dead. So, nothing to worry about there. And being that she has high defense, let's go ahead and lower that defense. And actually, at this point, I feel like I can just auto-attack her, unless she's got something else in there. That Firestorm didn't really do anything. She's getting a little bit of evasion now. There's my epic that I've been waiting for. Okay, so the first 4 rooms, nothing really dangerous. If you have your Yorick and Hansuke doing epics, really isn't going to be much of an issue, I don't think. Just auto-run it. And like I said, my undead team does not have near the runes that they used to have, so if you can do this with decent runes, I think this will be a pretty reliable team to run. It may not be the fastest. I mean, if you're gonna do one of the energy teams where you're going by clearing the room in one shot with like Cobalt or Kira or something like that, the thing might actually go faster. But if you fail on any of those, then the wheels probably come off pretty quickly. So if we put better runes on these guys, we may even be able to just flat out auto run this one all the way to the end. We got to see what the final bosses are first. But I'm liking my chances so far. There's that extra damage to nature, I think. Yep, so we don't know how much that actually was. So I will scale back here and make sure that we don't die again. unless somebody hits Zom. So I'm going to go with that piggy back there. Just because the mini-boss was extra damage towards disease. If any of these guys have that, I don't want them going after Zom. Alright, so let's use some of our skills like I said I was going to do. Buff some team defense. Use our vigilance. And just prepare a little bit better this time. Alright, let's get our auto back on here. I don't anticipate any death blows coming for Hansuke to block. I do like when Brahman's on revenge attack. It's always nice because it gives you basically an extra turn of killing somebody. There's that stealthy one. Didn't do anything to Yorick. Had he did that on Hansuke, it might have actually killed him. So I think with proper runes, this here is probably going to be an easy one for people to farm. Now the only downside is that there's 2 different rune colors that you can get, so if you're really trying to get superior light runes, you're basically looking at the normal drop rate plus 50-50 for light versus dark. So it may not be as easy as farming one of the other superior dungeons, but at the very least, you know, it's good to get some of those materials. Those etched bars are always handy to have. That guy did basically nothing. He has can't be feared, immune to darkness, which we knew, fast, and then nothing else really that important. No damage from nature, I don't care about that. Mark for Death is up, so I'll probably use that. Again, immune to darkness, extra damage towards nature. This one, that is what we got to watch out for. Savage Fury. Do not underestimate that, especially in boss mode dungeons. There was a guy in the challenge campaign. He was a wizardy looking guy that was similar to Sifu Jianzi. He had Savage Fury, and he was just a nightmare to deal with. So he is normal speed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark him, and then I'm just going to put the hurt on him with Brom and Zom. So take stock here. I'll just attack the other guy first. Let's see what he does here. Rampage didn't do anything, so I'm going to use my most potent abilities. Oh yeah, he's pushover. I was expecting way better fight from him. I was expecting way more. So I'm expecting some sort of like a septic claw from that guy, if he diseases someone, but he's dead. There's no way he's beating me here. So we'll just auto run it to the end. So as far as legendary dungeons go, I feel like this is probably actually one of the easiest ones. It certainly wasn't difficult by any stretch. So really it's going to come down to something like this. If we want to set up an auto run team, we just have to see how well the guys are going to do on those mini bosses and even on this one here. Without the mark for death, the Savage Fury might become a problem if the AI doesn't attack him and whittle him down. We don't know how much it's going to take to kill him without the Savage Fury. Without the mark for death. So this is one here. I think if we put some defensive runes on here, it'll probably go pretty well. But I'm not really looking to farm this one right now. I mean, I would love the superior materials, but ultimately it's not a high priority for me. But for those of you looking to gain some superior runes to start with, so you can break them down, if you're willing to put in the time, I feel like you can beat this one pretty easily. So I think we will leave it at that right now. We're looking at about 15 minutes here, and we have a very viable team for beating this. So I think we'll test out some other teams to do it faster if you're going to manually play it. I feel like the energy team with Cobalt, that's going to work pretty well. Those of you that run Darius energy teams would probably run pretty well. Pretty much anything that has like Echo in there. So there's plenty of options here. We'll test some more out. If anybody has suggestions or would like to try this out with a lesser rune team, like I said, that would be the Cobalt team, where basically the other guys are just kind of there. The only downside of running the Cobalt Energy team is we do have to be cautious about that fast boss at the very end. So any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, like I said, we'll test some other ones, and if you want to see any particular teams in general, just let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and stop by again.